Yes, recording has started. Swamiji, you can start speaking.
All right.
Participants, please unmute themselves because it is not being muted from my side.
Namaste, good evening, friends. Generally, we look at life as constantly demanding from us action in various contexts. We have to act. People ask us, what did you do? People show impatience at our saying anything. They would say, stop talking, start doing. In a number of ways, humanity has given tremendous importance to action, but then there arises the question, what is right action? And humanity over thousands of years have always struggled with various systems, sets of ideas about what is right, what is wrong. Morality has been a much debated topic, though everybody at a given point of time has certain idea about what is moral, what is immoral. On one hand, there is this issue of morality and ethics. On the other, even in simple settings of an individual's personal life, she or he wonders, what should I do? What is right for me to do? So in the theme that we have picked up this evening, we have ventured to connect meditation with right action. There also, I'm sure some of you might be wondering, what has meditation got to do with right action? The traditional view of meditation has been to withdraw from all action, sit with eyes closed, and become somewhat aloof. If not go into a cave, definitely go into some enclosure. And therefore, meditation and action do not seem to go together. However, anyone who has pondered life more carefully would certainly see a link. Action does not proceed from some unknown source. Action proceeds from right thinking. And right thinking also is a much debated topic. The moment you say thinking, once more, humanity has all along labeled, categorized, classified. These are good thoughts, these are bad thoughts, these are noble thoughts, these are ignoble thoughts, these are pious thoughts, those are vulgar thoughts. So thoughts have been labeled in numerous ways. Without going long on that, let me summarize how one of the big follies of humanity has always been to look at life as bounded by or limited to action and thought. It is here that we have certain out-of-box insights. Though generally our life does seem to be anchored in thinking and acting. We scratch our head and think, and then we act in whatever manner. The action may involve physical movement, or the action may sometimes involve financial decisions. The action may involve sometimes as little as saying yes or no in certain situations. Somebody calls you for a movie in the evening, and on phone you say, or on WhatsApp message you say, no, I don't want to join you. That is action. Or you say, yes, you meet 15 minutes, I'll join you at that circle in the city. So action means we get going with certain course of doing something. Whereas thinking is visualizing. However, the out-of-box insight to which I already referred consists of looking at thinking itself, taking a second look at thought itself. And that is where meditation comes in. Meditation is a very challenging topic. The whole world is excited about 1,000 kinds of meditation, and someone like Krishnaji rubbishes all of them. He made that very thought-provoking statement, which comes across as very controversial to traditionists. I am referring to the statement, conscious meditation is no meditation. A lot of people would be puzzled at that statement. You and I should not be so puzzled. We have been exposed to certain deeper dimensions of living. In the light of it, we can take a look at meditation. First of all, what is conscious meditation? You and I say, okay, it is time to meditate. I'm going to sit for meditation. I am meditating, and I have learned recently a very wonderful technique of meditation and all that. All that is called conscious meditation. When you look at yourself as meditating, you make yourself a meditator. Krishnaji would say, conscious meditation is no meditation. For the moment you say, I am meditating, you are taking the I for granted. You are already imposing certain visualization of where you are and where you want to go, and you fancy about how certain transformation will take place, how you will perhaps dramatically change through that 20 minutes exercise or 30 minutes exercise, how you will be even coming upon some out of the world experience, desire for some specific experience, whether it is seeing some blue light or hearing some playing of a flute, maybe. Today is Janmashtami, by the way, and some people meditating are waiting to hear the flute of Sri Krishna. This world is full of all kinds of meditation in Hindu and Buddhist and Christian and Islamic and Jewish and other traditions. So in the traditions, so much is invested in defining modules of meditation, and once more, all of them fall into the camp of conscious meditation. Then, if conscious meditation is no meditation, what under the sun is meditation at all? Obviously, we are not talking of unconscious meditation, where you are not alert at all. But by objecting to conscious meditation, what is implied is one rather pays attention to what is. One rather stays in gentle awareness. One becomes extra cautious of any agenda, any fancy, any plan to rise spiritually, advance, evolve, become something, if not a guru, some other, I want to be an embodiment of virtue. Wow. I want to be a saint. Wow. So some fancy, not to mention how sometimes we fancy people admiring us. I want to improve my image to begin with in the eyes of my own spouse. All that. So, moment there are these moments of thought, then it is one thing to indulge in those moments of thought and work out some ways to make them a reality. That's where techniques come into the picture. But mind you, it's quite another to gently notice how we are deriving great pleasure. There is pleasure in hoping. There is a saying, man lives in hope. Man somehow and unfortunately begins to look down at how he is at this moment, but enjoys the moment of hope. I am horrible fellow today, but give me some time. One day I am going to be such a picture of perfection, etc. That's called the activity of hope. In every field, one hopes to be something so much better. But this hoping movement, hoping process, is one aware what is going into that hoping, what has gone into the thought operating like that? Obviously, it's certain conditionings. A young boy would have seen maybe a video clip of Subhash Chandra Bose walking left, right with some military dress. The mind gets conditioned. I want to be a hero like this. Somebody else might be influenced by the personality of Gandhi, somebody else by someone else. Doesn't matter. But that is where conditionings seep into us. There is hardly any one of us, even as I am talking, hardly any one of us who is free from conditionings. But then nobody is asking, hey, if you are a member of this dialogue, leave aside all your conditions. Come without any conditions or conditionings. Nobody is saying that. To say, put conditionings aside and walk into this dialogue is another stupid statement. It's not shoes that can be put aside, like you go to temples and leave the shoes behind, shoes outside. Like, is it possible for us to leave conditionings outside? Thursday evening, 6 o'clock, Indore group is into a dialogue. Okay, the next 1 hour or 1.5 hours, I don't want to be in the clutches of any conditioning. That I don't want to be. That thought itself is so idiotic because conditionings are in us. They are the building blocks of us. One thing that is possible is as we deeply appreciate the teachings, there comes about a different quality to our living. We, rather than judging ourselves as not good, but I will become good, not intelligent, I will become intelligent, etc., rather than doing that, we just begin to notice whatever pranks the mind is playing, the mind is getting into. And when there is just simple attention, not deliberate attention, not attention which is the outcome of a decision. Next half an hour, I'm going to stay in attention. Then I'm going to relieve myself of this difficult exercise. That would be so idiotic. Then that understanding itself makes attention such a burden. If any of us imagines, oh my God, I don't know how to be attentive, but I'm trying. So that thought itself smacks of lack of understanding of what attention is all about. Attention is not the product of resolve, resolution. decision, we call in Indian languages sankalp. मैंने संकल्प किया हूं कि मैं अपने मन की ओर ध्यान दूंगा. ये संकल्प की बात नहीं है. The moment you do a sankalpa, then you have lost attention. You need to be attentive most spontaneously, and that is where we move away from conscious meditation. Without going too long on things, let me begin to connect meditation and right action. When we are no more hijacked by our conditionings, there are conditionings in our subconscious, in our unconscious, and we are not in any battle with them. We are neither hugging them nor fighting with them. Let them be. Let them be. But even as those conditionings cause particular thoughts, particular fancies to rise, to play, when there is observing them without choosing them, without selecting them, without celebrating that, this is the kind of thought I have wanted to arise in my meditation. That's called hugging a thought. And some other time, when a thought arises, oh, my meditation is spoilt. This vulgar thought has come in the midst of such a sacred act. No, that is all another conditioning working up in you. Can we be aware of thoughts without labeling? And then most people wonder, if we do not label thoughts, if we do not distinguish between good and bad, if we do not make a division between pious and vulgar, are we not wasting our time? I tell you, humanity, for thousands of years, the vast majority of humanity have this notion that you got to be quickly choosing, quickly going ahead, quickly achieving things. This wanting to achieve, wanting to become, wanting to take quick decisions and move ahead, that has done unbelievable damage to something deep inside us. Deep inside us, there is a certain intelligence which is capable of revealing to us a lot of secrets about our own existence. But if we are allowing ambition to hijack us, then this intelligence will take a back seat. Friends, in realizing that we have not only allowed our mind to be noisy, we have in fact poured fuel into fire. We have encouraged that noise. We have sponsored, we have supported the mental noise. By realizing that when there is a certain quiet attention, this is the main point. Where there is seeing of the false in our thought movement, that false subsides. That false, upon being seen as the false, leaves the space. A lot of wrong leaves the space. We are not labeling it as wrong. We are only seeing it for what it is. About so-called others and about so-called ourselves, we generally carry ideas. He is right, she is wrong, I was right, here I went wrong. Judgmentalism is a big noise in our mind. And when, rather than riding on waves of judgmentalism, not that we are suddenly stopping judgmentalism. The conditioned mind may be active in judgmentalism, but as I used a idiomatic phrase, we are not riding on those waves. Conditioned mind is judging. Conditioned mind expresses, it has that smell of some prejudice. It may be rightist or leftist or centrist or ultra, this ultra that. There are so many philosophies, so many belief systems. And the mind of you and me is conditioned by them. But what is meditation? Rather than choosing a certain thought and imagining that that thought is the carrier, is the vehicle for us to rise somewhere, to reach somewhere, we remain attentive. We see thought for what it is. And a number of thoughts are actually false. What do we mean by false? They are positions taken by very limited knowledge. And mind is always limited. Thought is always limited. Thought does not have infinite understanding. So looks like a hopeless case. Oh, we are utterly dependent on thought, someone may say. The mystics differ. They say we are not so dependent on thought as we imagine. It seems that thoughts come to our rescue to decide what is right. It is not true. When we, through the through attention, let go of those thoughts which were nothing but a powerful propaganda. Thoughts were beating some drum and saying, hey, you must do this, hey, don't do that. We just see how thought actually has no credentials. It's like an unqualified person making tall claims. Somebody who failed in biology in high school and did not study further is talking about some advanced cancer research. He's not qualified. She is not with the necessary credentials. Like that, if our thought goes about judging some people and calling some action as right, etc. So, to explain this, I am using many words, but actually, in this so called meditation, there is just seeing the limited thought as limited. This is limited. This has limited capacity. Without words, one sees, and in that seeing, those unqualified contenders, those thoughts take a backseat. And in the silence, in a certain relief, in a certain unburdening that you and I would experience, before that thought receded, we were actually burdened. The thought was suggesting that we do something, and the thought was, you know, saying about that proposed action as the right action. It was not. Thought was not qualified to suggest that right action. Now, when thought has, as though, feeling shy, walked away from this stage, true intelligence has the chance. And true intelligence, in a rather mysterious way, can give to us such a fresh insight. Therefore, I already called it an out of box insight. We might come upon an out of box insight. We will come upon. And that is where I would say right action, which could be something we had not thought about at all, right action might emerge from as though nowhere. Meditation, let me conclude my remarks saying, meditation can bring about an inner relief, an inner unburdening, and an extremely creative insight, shaping a particular thought accordingly would come about, would happen. That is when we would, with all confidence, say, right action can be the fragrance of meditation. not conscious meditation. Right action could be the fragrance of true meditation, which is in fact suspension of the self. The self goes into a suspension in that gentle awareness. Let me pause here and invite comments from my other friends. Thank you.
Harshad sir, would you please like to say something? Harshad Parekh sir.
Yes, are you able? Yeah, are you able to hear?
Yeah. Very well.
Okay. Thank you, Swamiji. You have, as usual, a very impersonal way and very clear what you are saying about meditation. I like to say something about something personal. When I was in Vancouver, in Canada, a friend took me to Vipassana meditation, where a group of people, they come together, sit quietly for 1 hour, and they all sit in a very proper pose. And for 1 hour, they remain quiet. Maybe they close their eyes. And I found that kind of meditation for 1 hour with a group very difficult, because generally I feel very happy to meditate when I am walking in nature and stand near the trees, close my eyes and watch what is thoughts arising. And that really helps me very much to be in nature and just watching, not doing anything. And sometimes I do create some image, but that image doesn't last long, just for a few seconds. And then there is a silence again. And if there is any thought coming, it is seen very, very clearly, whatever is happening. So what I consider meditation is looking clearly at whatever is happening in our mind, whatever is unfolding, and not analyzing, not judging, not saying anything. It is a non-verbal looking. And meditation, if it is done in a proper way, then it really cleans up our body and mind, and we feel very light after that. And I feel that we can do whatever we like to do. And if some people like to chant mantra and want to do, and if that is really helping, then that is all right. But Krishnaji was very much against chanting mantra, and he used to say that one can say Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, and that becomes very mechanical. But I feel that how do we do anything, even chanting of mantra, and we have the freedom to do whatever we like to do, and we are the judge, because we can find out whether whatever which we are doing, is it really making us feel very energetic, very aware, and not make us very tired. Because many times, if meditation is not done properly, then there is a conflict. Like some people, they try to concentrate on some image of Shiva or Buddha, and if their mind is wandering off, they again bring back to the image. So there is some kind of conflict is there between what is and what should be. And if that conflict is not helping then it is very much advisable to just drop that kind of meditation. But if it is helping, then one can continue, and then at one time, initially we need to make some effort to be alone and to direct our attention inward and our mind wandering off. Then again we bring it back to look at what is. So there may be some effort involved, but if it is still done in the right way, then it may happen that the meditation becomes very, very natural, effortless. And Krishnaji is talking about that state in which there is no meditator, but meditation happening wherever we are, whether we are traveling in a train or walking on a street, wherever we are, um, meditation is possible. But that happens only when we have become very, very good, and it happens naturally, effortlessly. And Krishnaji is talking about that natural, effortless meditation in which there is no meditator, and just watching, looking, that. So I would say that initially one needs some effort to be alone, and it may be difficult initially, like what they do in Vipassana. But when one becomes very good, then it becomes effortless, and it becomes very, very creative. So, but even Krishnaji used to tell to students that sit very quietly. Do not force yourself to sit quietly. Watch your thinking. Inquire why each thought arises. Do not condemn any thought. Do not judge. See clearly how the thoughts are coming. And then if a person is able to do, and if it is done in a proper way, then it helps. And then later on, one doesn't need to make any effort, and it becomes one's nature, in which there is no analysis, just thoughts are coming and going one after the other. And the mind can also become silent without any thought entering. So the whole thing is we are using a lot of words and some ideas, but actual thing is non-verbal, but we are describing with many, many words. Actual thing is to do it, uh, be silent, be alone, quiet, watching everything. Okay, thank you very much. And one more thing I want to say, that when I went in that city, Vancouver, and my friend, she was a Russian, and she had another friend, Russian boyfriend, and they were able to meditate for 1 hour quietly. But when they came out and we were traveling in the car, they started fighting, verbal fight. So after 1 hour of quiet meditation, it did not help them to be very quiet, and they were fighting, arguing. So the real test of meditation is how it helps in our relationship, where we don't make unnecessary problems, getting carried away by thoughts and feelings. So meditation helps in doing the right thing and making our life happy and creative, enjoyable. Okay, thank you very much.
Jain sir,
Is there
Ah.
anyone?
they have to raise their hand and then we can unmute them. If anybody wants to comment, he has
We
to
may
raise-
want Chabraji to say something.
Yes, yes, I will unmute him. Yes, Chhabra ji.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've been interested in um, this question. Is there a meditative way of living? One can easily probably see methods, no method, effort, no effort, and all these. Probably in general, the mind moves between two opposites, so one does get caught in that, and one wonders whether the movement, the reality, the flow, what has that to do with any opposite? Uh, and is there a particular, of course, sitting in a certain pose, or when there's not much noise around, not so much, um, chatter, also out in the outer atmosphere. Uh, all that may help a certain atmosphere, certain environment, all that is always helpful to do any work. You want to study or you want to just sit quietly or talk with your friends, you need a certain environment. So that's one can understand. But uh, and listening, when I was just now also when Swamiji was talking, I was listening, and the mind was, naturally you are listening to a friend, you are quiet, you are listening. What is, you are. It's like coming in. To me, it is coming in with music and coming. It's there's nothing that the mind is not interested in analyzing. It's taking in and listening to all the words, all the meaning that is being given. You know, and tended to have my eyes closed. I couldn't help it. It was happening. It's not, there was no attempt on in any direction. But at the end, I was wondering when we started reflecting on all this, some of us, I was just uh, wondering whether whatever you may call it, uh, is it was it an absorption? Just to it's just a question, not uh, just wondering. Is it absorption? Is it uh, what happens? What happens when one is naturally quiet for whatever reason or no reason? You know, because absorption also seems, when you are good music, it has happened. It may happen to anyone that you may listen to music or listening may happen. You may not even know the words. You may not, but still, it something seems to act on you or interact with your inner being, and you you wonder what is happening. You don't even understand words, and still there's some communication, some uh, quietness. So will you call it absorption, or is there a line between whatever in your understanding is meditation and something that is only the mind is absorbed in something, like it's absorbed in a toy, it's absorbed in some subtle thought or subtle, uh, you know, feeling. Uh, is there a line there, or it's a you can't really define? You go through it, you look at it, you listen to it, you and uh, just little curiosity. I'm not uh, because absorption is something that very often we feel uh, we were listening to something very quietly. We are listening. We are understanding. The mind seems to be understanding or objecting where there is some logical incoherence and there's some objection coming, and you also listening to your objection, and that objection wants to express itself. But uh, so I just wonder whether there is a way of looking at absorption and meditation together in some form. That as a it's the curiosity that is coming up, and maybe Harshadji or Swamiji, if they can you know, throw some light on it. Or
Harshad sir,
that's it. Thank
do
you.
you want to say something on absorption,
Yeah.
as Vijay ji has
Uh,
pointed out?
yeah, I think it is yes, it is very clear that when a child is absorbed with a toy and you take away the toy, the child cries because the toy has made the child very quiet. But meditation, in that, there is nothing, there is no toy there. There is just looking, listening, whatever is happening. And there is nothing to take away if it is meditation. But if a person is using certain technique, and if that technique is taken away, and then that person feels lost, then that technique is like a toy. And some people, they become very quiet when they read Krishnamurti or Raman Maharshi. But when they close the book and go home, then the problem in the family continues. Because I met one man here in Chennai, Vasant Vihar, and he wanted to talk with me. And he told me that when he started reading Krishnamurti, then it was fine. But then after some time, it was creating a lot of conflicts in his life. And then he dropped Krishnamurti and started Raman Maharshi, and he felt better. But again, after some time, that also did not help. So, how we do anything, how we read, how we listen, how we look, and that is very important, because if it is not done in the right way, then it doesn't help us. And so this man who came to me, he had to go to a psychologist also. And it happens to some people that after reading Krishnamurti, they want to become like Krishnamurti, and then they feel that they are not becoming like Krishnamurti, or they are not becoming quiet or silent. Then it becomes a big problem. And then they have to go to psychologists and have to take some drugs. So I would say that don't take any person as an authority, not even Krishnamurti. Do whatever you like to do. You are the doer, and you find out whether it is helping you. Even if you create an image of Buddha and it makes your mind silent, and then it is really helping you, then it is fine. No need to make certain concepts out of what we read Krishnamurti, that there should be no controller, no thinker, no conflict between thinker and thought, and then make it into a concept and try to apply it. It doesn't work, it creates more problems. And even people who were with Krishnamurti for many years. Later on, they felt that it really did not help them very much. So one has to find one's own way and see whether it is helping. So there is no authority in this field. And Krishnamurti also says there is no authority. You are the doer and you are the judge. Okay, I have finished. Right.
Dinesh Waghmare, please unmute it.
Dinesh, yeah.
My question is to Swamiji first. Swamiji is there?
Yeah, very much, very much. Go on.
Sir, I am not able to see the video.
Okay.
My question is first. You said that thought is limited. And
Yeah.
passive awareness is the solution, not the conscious meditation. When you have the passive awareness about the thoughts, first of all, how can we say thought is false? Number two, are we not making any polarity between thoughts and awareness? Because in that meditation also, thoughts are coming. So consciously you are passively aware, but from where thoughts are coming? I suppose they are coming from your subconscious mind. So how can we, again I will repeat, how can we say that thoughts are false? Number one. Number two, are we not making any polarity between awareness and thoughts? And number three, why we are going for, why we are choosing this method only? Why we are avoiding any active meditation?
What is the third? Why are we avoiding what?
Conscious meditation.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. So the first question needs to be taken up before anything else. Why do we say, or why did I say in my submissions, thought is false? Please remember, in the way I developed my presentation, I called thought as the product of some conditionings. And once there are conditionings, they take us away from truth. It is like being partial, being biased. Like you have a judge in a cricket match, but suppose that judge has a bias towards team A, which public may not know, and he has a bias for team B and against team A, something like that. Then he is highly likely to give certain judgments which are not correct. Therefore, as you and I live in this world which is full of interactions, after all, Krishnaji had said in that very much quoted statement, life is a moment in relationships. If we carry certain bias against X, Y, or Z, and certain bias for A, B, or C, then thought which jumps into an excitement, he is wrong, and so on, might be oblivious to the other person also being wrong in some way. In psychology, there is an expression called confirmation bias. I have already begun to look at some person as very wrong. And if I get even a little bit of evidence in that direction, I say, yes, I knew he was going to do this. I know him to be prejudiced, bad, wrong, and so on. Because that little bit we catch seems to confirm our bias. So thought is false in the sense that conditioned thought, that thought which carries bias, carries prejudice, carries a judgment which is outdated. 10 years ago, I had seen somebody doing something and a judgment had sat in my mind, let us say. And I'm meeting that man after 10 years. And then I begin to, this is the man who did that 10 years ago. So I know what he will do. So that in that sense, in that pakshapat, we call it pakshapat in Hindi, partiality. In that sense, thought is false. Coming to the second question, polarity between thought and awareness. See, awareness is pure light, this light in yourself. In contrast, thought is pretty much of darkness only. Thought is actually inert. It doesn't have its own sentiency. It has gathered some momentum by so many other forces. It's borrowed light at best. Therefore, this polarity between thought and awareness is we don't call it a polarity. It's a, it's actually a distinction between the false and the true. Thoughts are false and awareness is true. And when we are anchored in awareness, thoughts go through a cleansing. There is a purification going through that thought goes through. That is how. And what was the last question? It was again related to why is thought false, I think.
Conscious meditation.
Correct. Why not go for conscious meditation? Conscious meditation, we don't say doesn't do any good. It makes some changes. It's like somebody does yoga, his health will improve. Somebody does some conscious meditation on Shiva or Vishnu, Allah or Jesus. Some they may have a little calmness, they may have a little more efficiency at work. They may get some changes. But these dialogues, I would say, are concerned with setting ourselves completely free. So, conscious meditation doesn't set us completely free. Conscious meditation, which is much praised, much advertised, much publicized, there is so much propaganda about various techniques of meditation in this world, because true enough, they have blessed the practitioners with certain benefits. Modern gurus teach some breathing exercise, and then they make a god of that guru who taught them some breathing exercise because some health problem which did not go through allopathy or homeopathy or Ayurveda or anything disappeared through that breathing technique. So the people get very, grateful to that guru. But now, see this, because your health problem went away, you are not free from the self. In fact, sometimes you are more dangerous now. When the health problem was there, it was holding you back from doing certain wrong things. Now that your health is all right, you will be a danger to the society.
More
So,
mischief.
conscious meditation gives partial benefits which do not add up to much. Setting ourselves free, freeing of the self is possible through this awareness alone, watching what is.
Verma sir.
I myself do some conscious meditation, and I clearly know that this conscious meditation, I do some japa daily, being a Hindu monk. I do that. I know very clearly in the light of Krishnaji's teachings that this will calm my mind. This will probably bring about certain purity in certain respects. But I do not claim that japa, chanting of some mantra, can radically change me. And yet I do it because I'm in need of certain calmness. Just like, I'm in need of clearing my blocked nose. So I do some yoga exercise. But if I say my nose is cleared, I'm free from the self, they are poles apart. Your nasal blockage going away is nowhere near being enlightened, being free of the self. Hope we have thrown some light. In fact, as Chabraji also raised a very interesting question, what's the difference between absorption and being truly attentive, etc. Really speaking, we should have another session examining what meditation is and what absorption is how it is deceptively comforting. In fact, the example was rightly cited by, I guess, both Chabraji and Harshadji about a child being absorbed in a toy. That everybody understands. But you know what? A scientist being absorbed in some research is no different from that child. The scientist's research in a lab might be highly respected. He might get a Nobel Prize also. But in the context of these teachings, the scientist's research and his deep absorption is no different from the child's absorption in the toy, because the scientist's research may help him find a new law of, let's say, the phenomenal world. It doesn't free him from the self or egoism. He might be as vindictive, as revengeful, as demanding recognition for his work as ever before. Therefore, there is no radical change in him. He only found out some, amazing law which nobody knew before. So what? With the knowledge of law that he found out, he remains as dominating as before. Sorry, I think I took more time. There are some who have raised their hands.
Pradeep
Pradeep,
Verma.
Pradeep Verma, sir.
Pradeep Verma, please.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'll put it very briefly, what has been said already. Meditation is moment-to-moment awareness, inside and outside. Then attention is without self and ideas automatically. And the right is revealed through insight. Learning even this is through mind, I confess it. Then one must accept whatever the outcome of such an action is. Self comes back. So these are the things that I am never, all the time, myself is working. Maybe no interference of the past. That's right. Then I have a question. Are there fixed rights and wrongs? Or there can be absolute right with no tinge of wrong? Or is it a very pliable and plastic thing? Please, these are my questions. Anybody can say something about it.
Swamiji can say something on this.
I am poor in remembering a set of questions. I will take the last question, which has registered
yes,
better
sir.
in my mind.
Thank you.
Is right and wrong absolute, or are right and wrong relative, depends on context and so on? In fact, right and wrong are not absolute when you try to define them from the external descriptions. But when you describe or when you point out something as right, not from an external angle of view, but from the angle of view of what state of mind gave rise to that action. If that state of mind was one of love, one of absence of self, one of no attachment to the so-called one's own vested interest, then it is right action. The world men call it a wrong action. But if that person's state of mind was absolutely free from selfish designs, then it is right action. In other words, the litmus test for what is right is the state of mind free of the self in this philosophical perspective.
So this rightness is to the individual only, for the individual?
We rather tend to believe that when an individual is truly free of the self, not absorbed in an imagination of freedom from self, that is a deception he is into. So if an individual is truly free from the self, it's not just to himself. That action, which might be misunderstood by the society, will actually lead to so much good to everyone. Because there is in philosophy a principle. The end is not different from the means. So going parallel to it, if not identical with it, is the present scenario when the person who did something, who said something, actually was utterly free from the self. So the means from which the end arose is so pure, it's 24 karat gold. Whereas if somebody who claims, oh, I have been selfless, didn't do anything for my own sake, he may orchestrate it in a big way. But upon close examination, we may find that he was caught in some self-deception. He believed he was very saintly, where he was actually not. Therefore, it's not so easy to judge somebody, was he free from the self or was he into some absorption. So we earlier talked of two examples of absorption. A child being absorbed in a toy, a scientist being absorbed in a highly respected research field. Both are the same. Into that you can add a third example. Somebody who goes into some trance and then says to people, do this, do that, etc. That person believes he has become totally spiritual. People also believe, but it may not be so. Therefore, Krishnaji has made some very, very disturbing statements at places, disturbing to people of tradition. He said, someone who thinks he is a sinner and another who thinks he is a saint, both are into illusion. Mark the words, the another who thinks he is a saint and therefore advises people. And when people ask him, what makes you say so? They say, God spoke through me today. So many people have done that and caused so much bloodshed and other problems by claiming that God is speaking through them. So Krishnaji has made very, very bitter statements against such people because those cases are of absorption.
You see, one more. When will you say something about how whole?
Chris, may I say something?
May I say something, sir?
Jain Sahab to permit or not permit?
No, sir,
No.
please go ahead. Please go ahead, sir. Please go ahead. Shakti sir has also written something.
Okay. My question is whether how whole accommodates wrongs. Individual is very much part of the whole, and then this selfless, absolutely selflessness means absolutely cosmic order that is working at a particular moment. This is through mind, I take it like this thought. So
No,
please,
not exactly. See, Krishnaji, when he asked, can you see a flower without naming it? In that possibility of seeing a flower without naming it, one doesn't become blind. One sees the flower which is objectively existent. Likewise, an individual who is at that moment at least free of the self sees the various parameters of the situation. He doesn't go into some kind of blank. He is able to see and therefore he functions. He is able to give out some opinion and so on. Just as I repeat the example, I see the flower better than ever before when I don't label it. That is, I don't let conditionings or memories come into the scenario. Likewise, this man or lady without self is able to see the situation in the finest details and then express an opinion, what is right, what is wrong, and so on. Yeah, cosmic mind, etc. Those words are used, but even if he merges with the cosmic mind, his functionality is not disturbed.
Vijay Chhabra ji, you wanted to ask something.
Yeah. Concerning right and wrong, I wanted to just yeah, could be big an idea, or just I often ask myself, can we do away with these words, right and wrong? Totally. I just, you know, just exploring, um, because these are very loaded words, and we have the, I think maybe the half the conditioning is, you know, uh, burdened with that.
Sir, I may say something. I want to say one thing, that right action has to be seen in the individual's perspective only. Chidan, Swamiji, are you able to hear to me?
Yeah. Acha, are you
Right.
saying it should be seen in individual context only?
It should be seen in the individual context only, because when JK is sharing for 60 years, it is the right action for him. But if one person who is not knowing anything, if he wants to share, then it will not be a right action. So I want, if that person is not knowing anything, not knowing the depth of anything, and he want to share, then there may be some problem. Then that will not be the right action for him. So from my point of view, it is something of a subjective nature of the particular individual.
We can think about it.
Rajendran sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Sir, just I am returning to the question whether thought is real, true or false. See, thought may be real, thought may be some brain activity. So if I am real, then thought is real. I am nothing but that. The me is created by thought only. Thought may be real or true, but it has created all false things, all illusions, like self, visualization, imagination, myth, belief, fear, hope, opinion, conclusions, judgments, guess, perceptions. Most of what thought is doing is only presumptions, only guesswork. The thought is not content with unknown things. So it always does judge some people by a random action of an individual. It judges a person as good or bad. So it is never content with unknown things. So it is scared of unknown. It will become the thought will become restless if facing with the unknown, unless it judges and labels them and classifies them, classify it as a good or bad. It won't rest. It will be very, then only it will be in a comfortable position. So the thought may not be true, but whatever may be real, but whatever it creates is totally false, including the self. That's all. So there is no me when thought does not move. The me comes into the picture only when the thought moves. So that thought may be real. It may be brain action. It may be action, some firing of neurons. But whatever it creates is all false. May be false. Thank you, sir.
Dinesh Waghmare.
Shakti sir, you wanted to say something?
Shakti sir is not
Whatever
able to
you have
unmute
written, would you please like to say that? Or there is a
Shakti
problem
sir,
in unmuting?
there is a problem with Shakti sir's internet, so he is not able to speak something. So we will have to read the.
But we can read.
Yes,
what he has written. We can read whatever he has written.
Yes, 1 minute.
Oh, so let us read that first.
Shakti sir has said absorption mostly is unintended concentration, but it can be attention also if nothing is excluded on purpose and with effort. In front of a sunrise, both are possible. It depends what one has been doing during unabsorbed moments.
Chidanandji, would you please like to explain this?
Yeah, I read it 3 or 4 times, and
Yes.
I do appreciate that point. Correct. Absorption per se doesn't have to be different from attention. Generally, in the examples we took of a child being absorbed with a toy, a scientist being absorbed with his research, somebody who has gained some spiritual so-called experiences, thinks that he is a saint. In these examples, we try to convey a scenario where the self is operative. Self is not dead. Self is not eliminated. But there could be, like Shakti ji has given the example of sunrise. Somebody could be noticing sunrise and absorbed in that, and really there could be no mischief by the self. What we mean is, after the absorption period is over, there is no pride that I got to see sunrise, others could not, or in some other way. It's like the scientist, after he finds out something, suppose he is totally unassuming, and even while receiving the prize, he says, prize is incidental, prize is not the thing for me. I enjoyed doing that research. I'm very happy to have found out certain things. But this praise, this special recognition, this my picture and name coming in all the media do not mean anything. Suppose he says, then in his case, that research was not, it was absorption, but he was in pure state only. In fact, let me quickly say, Ramana Maharshi talks of two, cases, Laya and Ahankara Vinasha. Laya is, you put salt and make it dissolve in water. The water looks like having no salt. Of that kind, oh, it is salty, you say. Though invisible, there is salt. Whereas in another case, there is no salt at all in water. That would be comparable with there is no self at all. Yeah. So I accept Shakti's submission that sometimes absorption could be no different from a state of no self. But more
Dinesh,
often, the self is present but hiding. Okay.
Dinesh Waghmare, please. Waghmare, please, and then Anand.
His mic is off.
Oh, some problem with mute and mute
Okay.
business.
Now you can.
Are you able to listen to me, sir?
Yes.
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I'm having two questions. One is with Swamiji. Can there be any absorption without intention? This is first question. Then other is to Harshad sir. Whatever example he has given about the Russians who attended the Vipassana meditation, the same thing can happen with the choiceless aware meditation of whatever the JK suggests. What he has to say?
Chidanandji, please.
In the
Swamiji.
meantime, Harshad sir can say something. Chidanandji.
Yes, okay. Are you able to hear?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, in this Krishnamurti choiceless awareness, it is not, if it is just a momentary experience and it doesn't last, then there will be problem in relationship. So it is an ongoing, effortless awareness, which Krishnamurti is talking about, which is kind of a natural meditation, effortless meditation. Then if there is any problem arising, one can sense it, and just seeing it is a dropping of it. So that is the real freedom in which we can see whatever is arising in our mind. And if there is an anger arising, anger is seen without any effort. So it is not absorption, it is really seeing exactly whatever is happening in moment by moment. So if it is just a momentary choiceless awareness, then it doesn't work later on. So it requires an ongoing effortless awareness. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. My another question was
Dineshji?
to,
Sir, please,
Yeah.
yes,
please,
sir,
please
yes, sir.
let
Chidanand,
Anand sir say.
Swamiji
Let
is not
Anand
here.
sir say. Let Anand
Ah,
sir say.
Anand
Modak,
sir.
please. Anand sir.
Anand
So
sir,
I'll come to you, sir. You'll please go ahead.
sir,
So
you
yeah,
Dinesh. Dinesh, now
my
you
question
can
was
say.
to Swamiji, can there be any absorption without intention? All absorptions are with intentions only. If one is interested, then only he will go for absorption, isn't it?
Swamiji?
Swamiji is not there, I think.
Swamiji is not there, sir. Swamiji has left. So we can continue with Anand sir. Then
yes,
Anand sir, you
yes,
can
sir.
continue.
So it's the same thing what Mr. Dinesh has said, when I say I'm absorbed in it, I'm interested in it. I'm interested in my job. And can I see that there's a motive, there's something to be gained, and I'm absorbed in it. When I see a sunrise or sunset, it is just there. It's not my interest. I just see it. There's a perception of it. That's all there is. And when I say it has to, it is actually, it happens moment to moment. The moment I say it should be permanent, it should lost, I'm back to my conditioning. Whatever happens, it is moment to moment. Can I be aware of it? The moment I say it should last or it should be permanent, then again I'm back to my conditioning. So it is very essential for us to be alert. Alert is, again, we need to look at it, what exactly it means by alert. And what makes me be alert is another question one has to observe, sir. That's about all. Thank you.
Thank you. Pradeep
Pradeep
Verma.
Verma, sir.
Pradeep Verma, please. Pradeep Verma, please conclude.
Conclusion is actually prohibited. For me, absorption is all through there in nature. All my senses, until they absorb, they will not send the signal to the brain who talks so much. So absorption, light absorption, sound absorption, everything absorbed and then starts talking through me. Me, a very dangerous word, but it does work like this. So absorption is all through there to me, natural absorption. Thank you.
Harshad sir, would you please conclude now? Harshad Parekh sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Sir, please conclude.
About this absorption, if you are absorbed in a toy or a science or absorbed within yourself, there is no dependence in real freedom. So if you are absorbed in something and if that something is taken away, you don't feel any disturbance because everything is you. You feel like that. You can look at a bird, and if the bird goes, a cloud comes, and cloud goes, and a human being comes, and you are looking at it without any motive. But it's very fascinating to look at everything in that state of awareness in which the self is not. So everything would look very, very new, fresh, beautiful. These are just the words, but actual seeing is one has to really feel it. One has to do it. Then that's why Krishnaji was asking this question even to children. How do you look at a tree? How do you look at the face of your friend? because there is a different way of looking. And in that looking, there is no absorption, but it is wonderful to just look. And that thing goes away, you are not disturbed. So it is, there is some kind of attention is there, which is not absorption in a particular thing, but it is absorbed in everything, you know. So, okay, I have finished. Yeah.
You are unmuted, Sushilji. You please unmute yourself. Sushilji, please unmute.
Sushil sir, please unmute and declare Sunday's program.
Sunday's program. Okay.
Yeah.
Sunday's program is already declared.
Time
It's
is different.
time 6:30 in the evening. Nagarjun with Nagarjun. Negation
Right.
with Nagarjun. So
By
should I finish?
Donald Kiran.
Right. So should I finish it? Unabsorbed,
Yes.
absorbed, or
Yeah.
call it whatever you like to call it.
Yes,
Let
yes,
it be
yes.
finished. Yes.
Only one question left, but that is for the
Okay.
next time.
Next
It
time.
can be taken next time.
Okay.
Next
Thanks
time.
all.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Next
you.
time,
Thank
first question will be taken by Dinesh Waghmare only.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank
Special
you. So nice
reservation
of
for
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you
nice
very
of
much.
you.
Thanks